Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me and the rest of the panel here on Archive. Man, we got a show for you today. Leave it in the ring round table. And you see everybody right here. Everybody except G-Funk. You know what I mean? I asked him 3 times. Are you ready? Y me negó 3 veces like Judas. You know what I mean? But it's okay. Let's get to the heart of it right away here, right out of the gate. Dave, Lomachenko versus Lopez. First thing I want to ask you, is this fight going to be a success in the ratings for ESPN? Because I feel like boxing needs this. Do you think it's going to be a big hit?
Well, first off, I'm Dave Duenas, and I am an alcoholic. Oh no, this is not it. Okay, my bad. No, yeah, man. I think it is going to be a success. I mean, here's the thing: is that especially for boxing fans, right? They're always saying that, oh, if it's on pay-per-view, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to radio it. There's always a complaint, no matter what. So there shouldn't be any complaints. All these people that have complained about, wanting to see a big fight for free, you're finally getting it. So this is the greatest opportunity right now for you to sit down, turn on your telly, and watch a fight that's free on ESPN. So I'd say, yeah, that it's going to help out the ratings. It's going to be on a Saturday. Because not everything's opened up, I mean, a lot of restaurants are still closed, and, malls and nightclubs and all that. You're going to have a lot of bodies at home wanting to do something and wanting to watch something. So I expect it to do very well.
All right. What about you, Milcar? Think it's going to do well?
I think obviously the hardcore boxing fans are going to want to tune into this fight. Whether or not the casuals swing over is, I think, an open question. I think back in June, reports were indicating that ESPN was struggling with its ratings when they started up this series in the bubble. I don't really know how they've been doing overall. But like I said, the hardcore fans are going to watch. I was discussing this on Dave on our podcast with Dave on our podcast. I don't actually think this is a pay-per-view level fight. So I classify it more as what would have been on an HBO show or a Showtime show. So, I think it will do decent numbers. Whether it will do insane numbers, I think, is an open question.
Absolutely. What do you think, Chief Funky? How do you think this fight's going to do?
Man, I don't know. That's a tough question because, I mean, not a lot of casuals know these two guys. I always like to share this funny story. I had some guys, working on my house from Ukraine. I asked them about Lomachenko, and they were like, well, who's that? And I was expecting to hear something different than that, but kind
of anecdotal, isn't it? That's kind of anecdotal. But I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I figured, a 2-time gold medalist for the country, and these guys were sports guys too. It's not like they were just, they didn't watch sports at all. They were, they talked about all the sports with me, and that's why I asked them about Lomachenko, and they said, I've never heard of him, So, but I hope it does do well. My only concern is that it's coming on so late. East Coast is starting at like 10:30, so I don't know if casuals are going to want to stay up that late to watch boxing. I know the hardcores like ourselves will. Fortunately for me, I'm on the West Coast, so it's only 7:30 for me. But that's the one thing that concerns me is the time starting so late. But I hope it does well.
But they're conditioned for that though already, G-Funk. I mean, most East Coast fans, they know they're going to end up staying late to watch a fight. And if
it's like this, right?
I fell asleep during the Charlo card. I'm not even gonna lie.
You fell asleep because of the podcasters that decided to do the intermission deal and stuff. Everybody was falling asleep during that time, But I mean, if the fights would have rolled over, you would have been awake.
Well, it's like this. I mean, I don't know. So I don't know your answer, G Funky. Was that a yes or a no? So is that good or bad?
Man, I'm going to say good because I want it to do good.
Okay. And Dave from 408, introduce yourself to everybody and tell us, what do you think? How do you think this fight's going to do?
Hey, guys. Thanks a lot for having me on here tonight. Yeah, I do a small-time podcast Monday nights after Dave does his. It's called The Shoe Shine on Periscope. I think this fight is going to do relatively well with some casual fans. I think they're going to get a little bit of an audience from that. And the reason why is we just recently had that pay-per-view, and I just paid Comcast. And I got to tell you, when I ordered the fight, I was saying I can afford this. No big deal, right? But when I got the bill for $300 from Comcast, I said, you know what? That shit wasn't worth it to me. And it didn't do quite as well. And in retrospect, that fight didn't really merit to me. Now, in retrospect, it was a unification match. But again, their opponents weren't household names either. So I think this is a great unification match. And kudos to Bob Arum for making it free, because maybe we can peel off some casual fans. And October's been a hot month for boxing. So I think keeping this streak going in the month is really, really important as we get to these other super fights down the pipe.
Absolutely, man. This is Boxtober, big month for boxing. And hey, from ringside reporter Beeb, introduce yourself to everybody where they can find you, etc. And how do you think this fight's going to do?
I'm Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. You can find me on YouTube at Ringside Reporter Live, Twitter JHabib1, Facebook Joe Habib. This fight has a ton of potential, and I think anytime you put an event on Fox, which everyone has Fox if you have a TV, you don't even need a cable box for Fox, and most people have ESPN. The good thing about this is there's a lot of college football on, right before this event. So you could get a lot of those guys from college football. And because people watch First Take, people watch Undisputed and stuff on Fox, all those people that are watching those shows, the good thing about ESPN and Fox is they're doing a lot of promotion for the fights like this. So that, ESPN did a great job promoting this. Fox has been doing a great job promoting their fights, their pay-per-view events. So I think this fight's going to do exceptionally well. This could be possibly the highest rated fight of the year on ESPN. And a lot has been said about the ratings when ESPN first came back with the bubble. And, I interviewed Bob Arum and we talked about the ratings. And if you look at the days of the week that they were showing boxing and in the time slots that they were showing boxing, if you look at it, in retrospect to that, the ratings were pretty good. They were doing like 300,000 viewers and stuff like that at that particular time, Tuesday night, during the time of the year, whatever, so if you put it in context and you look at it, from that vantage point, the ratings weren't bad given the time slot and given the day of the week. So I think this time slot, segueing right after the football and everything, I think you're going to get a lot of those people that were watching the football going to carry over to watch this event. And I think ESPN did a great job promoting it. So I think this will do extremely well. And I think it'll do better than a lot of people think. And I think it'll attract more casual fans to the sport, and they could build momentum off of this fight. And the rest of the schedule this year is phenomenal. So I think boxing is going to be, catching some momentum as we close out this year.
All right, well, there we go. My answer, yes, I think it's going to do good ratings on TV. I have a lot of individual. Now, this is anecdotal evidence, but I have people that don't follow boxing a lot that are asking me about this fight, including family members of mine, including because all of us, I think it's fair to say, we're all the boxing guy that people around us know, right? Like if they have a question about boxing, they'll text us, they'll call us, if they see us or whatever it is, if they want to bash the sport, they just bring it up to us, whatever it is. But they're bringing this up, and they're asking, hey, is this Teofimo Lopez kid for real? Like, and they do know who Lomachenko is, right? So it'll be interesting, but we will see. But nonetheless, who is going to be tuning in? The hardcore boxing fans, for sure. Dave, I asked for your projection earlier, and he gave it to me. There it is on the screen. All right. Talk to us about this fight and how you believe this fight's going to be going down.
Well, I gave a pretty extensive breakdown on measuring the fighters on Monday night after we did our regular podcast here. And you know what? I've listened to everybody's, interaction on the show. I was reading off the comments, and then I try to respond back to everybody from the Leaving Ring Gmail, and even on the YouTube video itself. Read the comments and stuff. And I got to tell you, man, I still haven't changed my mind. Again, I give Lopez. I respect his power, but I'm not sure if power is enough to win this fight. You know, I mean, I still believe that he's explosive. He's, you know, his youth is going to be a huge part of this fight, him being a bit bigger than him. But if he doesn't know how to utilize that and he just goes out there and he relies solely on those two things I just mentioned, and Lomo's able to finagle out of that in last 4 to 5 rounds, I still see Lomachenko just kind of just taking over, you know, where that's been you know, Lopez's champ there, the takeover. I think that after 5-6 rounds, there's a strong possibility, a very high possibility, that it's going to be a Lomachenko night, which would be a dominant last 6-5 rounds of that fight. You know, I can't see Lomachenko stopping him. Maybe giving him a thorough beating, an embarrassment beating, but not like a Lacey beatdown or even like a Fernando Vargas against Tito Trinidad beatdown. I just don't see that happening. But I see him kind of schooling him and fundamentally screwing him up, where he becomes frustrated because he can't figure out Lomachenko and his power is not being the factor of the fight. So again, I go with Lomachenko. I give him the high percentage of him winning Saturday night, very low percentage of Lomachenko stopping Lopez, but I give Lopez a very big high possibility that he could stop Lomachenko within 4 rounds. If he could do that, it's like what I predicted. But if he can't, it's like what I'm predicting now, Lomachenko by decision.
Now let's go from one side of the aisle to the other. But before I go there, you told me off the record, but let's go on record here, Milcar. What's your percentage again? Hey.
I said it's 100% chance Lomachenko is going to beat Teofimo Lopez. I'm not convinced by Teofimo Lopez. The Nakatani fight to me was evidence that, whoa, you know, I mean, I live in an area too where with a lot of Hondurans, and you know, they're not even really supporting the guys beyond the fact that I just don't like the attitude that he has, or the, you know, the things he said, and you know, spitting and stuff in the interview and just like disrespecting Lomachenko for what I see is like no justifiable reason. I don't think he's really done anything to back up the level of arrogance that he has. And you're talking about a 2-time Olympic gold medalist who's also an amateur world champion, who was undefeated in the World Series of Boxing against the top talent in the world of amateur boxing, who's done amazing things so far as a professional, jumping through the weight classes, and who's a very tricky, high boxing IQ southpaw. And I think you were describing the Calzaghe-Jeff Lacey fight, right, Dave, when you were mentioning the Lacey fight? Yeah. That's how kind of I see it going, to be honest. And not just because they're both southpaws, but because I see Jeff Lacey as someone who relied a lot on his athletic ability. Yes, he had boxing talent, and I'm not going to say that, you know, Teofimo's a one-trick pony or whatever, like kind of Jeff Lacey was with the left hook, but he had that kind of aura around him that was totally stripped by Calzaghe when they ended up fighting. And
you know, the only thing though is a milk card really quick. If I could just add this to
go
this.
ahead.
My only thing is that Lopez, to me, kind of shows that he believes in his arrogance, and whereas like Lacey, I mean, his power said everything about his style. But Lopez, to me, it's like, well, let me put it this way. Lacey wasn't able to get into Joe Calzaghe's skin. To me, Lopez has ruffled the feathers of Lomachenko. I don't know. Am I wrong about that? But it seems to me that it's kind of gotten to him.
I see Joe nodding his head. I
want to hear what Joe has to say.
I think if anything, it just added motivation to him in training. Yes, he's a little bit smaller, but he's still at the tail end of his physical prime at the age of 32. Yeah. And he's seen it all, and he's done it all. As an amateur and a pro, I just have not seen anything from Lopez that gives me the confidence in him that he can.
Nobody. Hold on, Dave. Hold on.
Yeah.
I just want to ask this.
Yeah.
I get being confident, but do you really believe that, like, 100%, bro. Would say, come on. So you're saying he's a bigger underdog than Buster Douglas was against Tyson?
Let me put it this way. When LeBron and AD just took on the Heat, I was 100% confident that they were going to win the NBA championship in the bubble. I saw no chance the Heat over 7 games were going to beat the LA Lakers. And I see no chance that Teofimo Lopez over 12 rounds is going to beat Vasyl Lomachenko. I just don't see it.
Man, that's confidence. And I want to go to this now, okay? Joe? All right, here's your projection. Explain this to us. Break it down for us. And well, why is Amilcar wrong? Like, what? Because you're on the other side. You're not 100%, but you're still there.
I'm chomping at the bit, and I just got to say this. A lot of times we look at these fights and we ask the question: when has this guy ever fought someone like this? This guy, look at this guy's resume and what he's done, and this guy hasn't done nearly what this guy's done. But everybody fights nobody until they fight somebody. Okay? And this is the somebody for Teofimo Lopez. Now, when I look at this fight, everyone's saying, oh, this is like Mayweather versus Canelo. When Canelo was too green, Teofimo is going to be too green. I look at this entirely differently. I look at this as like Pacquiao versus Marquez. You got a guy like Lomachenko who moves a lot, but you got a guy like Teofimo Lopez who's kind of punches, sets traps, kind of lays back in the cut a little bit. But the difference with Teofimo Lopez is obviously Vasily Lomachenko is not Pacquiao, but similar styles in the way that they go in and out. They're ambush type style fighters. But the thing with Pacquiao is Pacquiao tends to come in on the angles where Lomachenko will move side to side. But I always notice when he tends to deliver those flurries, he stops in the middle and kind of slides into the middle of the pocket, and then he throws the flurries. So he's kind of a pattern type fighter. Obviously, he's fast and he's really successful at doing that, and you have to still pin him down, but that is timing. And the thing about Teofimo Lopez that I've seen is he just has incredible adaptive reactive skills. He has an incredible reactive time, meaning if he sees an opening and it's there for a split second, because he is so quick and explosive, and he could just generate so much power with a short hook, like a 3-inch hook. You can sometimes see him just go like this, turn his wrist like 3 inches, boom, make contact, and the guy just drops dead like he got hit with a cattle prong. You know what I mean? So I just think because of his reaction time and his ability to adapt to whatever's in front of him, his reflexes are exceptional. And I think he has a higher ring IQ than people give him credit for, because again, he has that ability to kind of just see the fight, develop, almost like he can envision things happening before they happen. He can just process them. Sort of like what Virgil Hunter said about Andre Ward, how Andre Ward could process things faster than a lot of other guys. I think Teofimo Lopez has that gift as well. And when you look at this too, he has the exceptional power. I think you could argue that he may even be more quicker than Lomachenko hand speed wise too. And people will say, well, how can you say that? Look how fast Lomachenko throws flurries. But this guy doesn't bring the volume that Lomachenko brings. He's more of a quality guy instead of quantity. So you'll see Lomachenko move side to side. But again, he's always going to come back into the middle and slide straight in. And he tends to walk into right hands when he does that. I could see him walking into Teofimo Lopez right hands. He did it against Linares. He did it, he did it against Pedraza. But those guys obviously don't have the explosiveness. They're not as quick. I don't think they hit as hard. And another thing too is he's been hitting more. G Funky, you said this, and you did a great job with your breakdown. He's been getting hit.
He was all right. He was all right
at lightweight than he did at featherweight and junior.
What about my breakdown?
You're okay. You're okay. When you look at him at 126 and 130, he was getting hit a lot less than he's getting hit at lightweight. And even he said himself on that press conference yesterday, he goes, "Yeah, I am getting hit more because It's harder for me at lightweight. These guys are bigger. They have longer reaches. All right. And I'm seeing him actually get hit now and wobble a little bit on occasion. Campbell wobbled him a little bit. Linares wobbled him a little bit. His head snapping back now. Before this wasn't happening. So I think
Linares knocked him
exactly.
down.
He's taking.
I was at the fight.
So
I want to ask you, Milcar, and I'm going to let you finish, me, but were you 100% confident when Linares knocked him down that he was going to get up and win?
Once I saw him stand up, I was. And the funny thing is, I was actually going for Linares in that fight. I actually really like the way Jorge Linares boxes. I always have. I think, though, that a lot of the struggles he's had, yes, can be attributed to weight and to size, but I also think a lot of it is attributable to focus. And I think he's going to be 100% dialed in for Teo. But I just don't see him doing careless things in the ring as I've seen him do, especially like in that Linares fight. To give all the credit in the world to Linares, and you're right, Joe. He is susceptible to the right, but I have to assume that he'd be training to defend against that. And I've heard that he's been boxing nothing but big, strong dudes in sparring.
Are you ready to throw him like a bone, like a 5% chance or something?
But here's the huge problem.
Go ahead, Pete.
Sugar Ray Leonard said this once. Said there's only so much you can move in a fight, and you're gonna have, but at some point you're gonna have to stand and fight. And he can only move so much. The thing is, when he stops moving, like I said, he'll go side to side. Watch him. He stops in the middle. Every time he attacks, he stops, and he's not coming in from the angles like Pacquiao did. He stops in the middle, then slides and goes to the mid range of the pocket, and then he's like boom, 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 and then he pivots out to his right. He's a pattern fighter. And again, it's like that fastball pitcher, Nolan Ryan. All he had was a fastball, but it was a damn good fastball. He struck you out with it because you couldn't get around on it. But you got a guy like Lopez with the timing, the adaptive, reactive abilities, the reflexes, the reaction time. He's going to process this, and he's going to time this, and he's going to walk him right into the right hand. And not only that, this is a guy that has a sharp left hook as well. And because he's so big, I think that there's going to be times too where he may try to go inside and rough him up a little bit.
Joe, I'd be 100% with you if he did all of that to the Japanese fighter Nakatani. But if he had done that, then yeah, I'd agree with everything you're saying. But he's done it.
But he's done it against everyone else. And what was your scorecard for that Nakatani fight? I scored it 11 rounds to 1.
I thought he won the fight.
So my whole thing is this. We can go back and look at that Linares fight, and everyone at that time was saying Linares was shot. This was supposedly a shot Linares. I had him up by a point at the time of the stoppage. Another judge had him up at a point, and another judge had that fight even, and another judge only had Lomachenko up by 1 point. Now you're 100% correct. You're well within your rights, and you're dead on to criticize Teofimo Lopez for that performance. But if that's your off night and you're winning 11 rounds on your off night, that's a pretty good off night. And then if you could go around and fight a guy 10 times better than the guy that you just fought prior, and I think Comey's a solid fighter. To go out after, to come back after that performance, when everyone was kind of souring on you, to come back after that performance and do what you did to Comey like that. So that's the thing. The problem with this fight for me is I just don't think Lomachenko's a lightweight. And he admittedly openly said himself, I am not a lightweight. I am getting hit more here because these guys are bigger and they have longer reaches. I'm seeing Lopez do chicken dances now. Never saw that before. I'm seeing him doing like the lean back. I've never seen him do that before. So this is the thing. I just think this is a different he's in the wrong weight class at the wrong time against the wrong guy on the wrong night. And he's getting iced. He's getting iced on Saturday night. He's getting stopped in 8 rounds.
Jeez, Joe's convincing.
Hold on. We got a whole panel here, guys. Let's go ahead and.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right, let's go to Dave from 408. How do you see this fight? And if you may, can you give us like what percentage chance you give each guy of winning?
Okay, yeah, definitely. I you know what I have to say, I definitely agree with Joe a lot more than the rest of the panel here. I think Teofimo Lopez has all the tools necessary to pull off an upset. Now, he is nothing like Orlando Salido, but the game plan, the blueprint for defeating him was laid out that night when he was caught off guard by, the veteran. And I don't think he's going to choose to go that route. But if he can stop Lomachenko from getting in his rhythm. That's the main thing, is stop him from getting in his rhythm. And he's going to be able to do that with his power shot, which I think he's going to have the edge on the power. Like last week with Ruben Villa and Navarrete, I think on this Saturday night, we may see a couple of times Lomachenko may taste the canvas and have to rally back to possibly, most people have him winning a decision, but I think it's entirely possible that Teofimo may pull off an upset this Saturday. He's got the tools necessary. If he doesn't get the upset, I don't think he'll suffer any consequences to his long-term career. With less than 20 fights and already being a champion, this will probably actually elevate his game amongst casual fans and American fans. We may see something like the effect that Canelo Alvarez had. Losing to a much higher status fighter like Lomachenko will probably have no effect over his long-term career. But like Joe says, I think the power is going to be what evens out this fight. And the fact that Lomachenko has the shorter reach, I'll say it's ironic that Lomachenko, being the smaller fighter and the older fighter, has the better legs. But we'll see if Lopez can nullify that. The movement. I know I read today his father says they've got a game plan to nullify his movement, and we're going to find out Saturday. I actually think Teofimo has above 50% chance of winning. And if I was in Vegas this weekend, I would absolutely go to the sports book and actually put money on Lopez because, hey, that is a profitable bet.
I'm going to Seabrook, Daddy. I'm putting my bet in Seabrook.
So now we're going to go to Chief Funky here. Here's your projection, bro. And tell us, man, like I know you've talked about it to death already, but, hey, just kind of, give it to us. What do you got?
Well, before I go into that, how do I look? Do I look scared?
Oh yeah,
I'm nice and relaxed. Do I look scared? Okay, hold on. Wait. Now do I look like a man now? Do I look manly now?
Yeah.
Is that a trick question?
Man. I gotta throw a jab at some of these guys, man, who are quote unquote these sports psychologists all of a sudden. Like, oh, this guy looks shook and everything like that. I mean, come on, guys. Let's just stop it. Just enjoy the damn fight, all right? Stop trying to pull all these weird tricks and things like that, all right?
Let me do my Loma.
Yeah, there you go. I don't understand. I don't understand what he said. I don't know what he's saying, But
hey, you know what though, G Funk? This is the only thing I could say is that to not say that Lomachenko that Lopez has got underneath his skin. I think you have to agree with that. I think that Lopez got underneath. Yeah, because
you're 100% right, Dave. You're 100% right.
Here's the thing, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, Joe. You got a guy like Lomachenko that's been since in the amateurs, right? The tail end of it, when he went into the World Series, this guy was propped up to be a great fighter. This guy's great. I mean, wherever he went, he was treated like a king. Nobody talked shit about this guy. People were saying, yeah, I want to fight this guy, but nobody went in there. And I mean, when they went into the ring with it, they showed him complete respect. You finally got a kid and a father that's showing no respect towards him. This is kind of like new territory for him. He's
unprecedented, Dave.
Yes,
unprecedented.
Exactly.
He's used to guys looking at him. He's used to guys looking at him in awe.
Yes,
right.
He's used to people gushing over him. Now he's got this kid looking at him like he's nothing, and he's looking back at this kid like, how the hell can this guy treat me like this?
Right.
When you look at what I've done compared to what he's done. And it bothers the hell out of him.
It's like the movie 300 when that dude's looking at the king of Sparta and he's like, well, what are you talking about? This is blasphemy. You don't talk like this. Well, guess what? He's going to kick him in the damn hole. Okay, when he knocks his head off. Go ahead, Chief Funky. Finish your point, Chief Funky. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. I see Teofimo catching him, man, with something big. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I've heard it quite a few times here already before I've went. Linares able to time him with good right hands. Lomachenko's a southpaw, so of course that's what you're going to want to throw. But not only that, I've shown examples of guys hitting him with lead left hooks from way far out when they got this guy on the back foot. So I mean, this guy is very hittable, and he's going to have, man. He cannot get into exchanges with this kid. He's going to have to really, that footwork and that Ukrainian dance, whatever, is going to have to come in like a motherfucker Saturday night, man, because he cannot stand right there with this guy, man. Something's going to hit him and it's going to hurt him, I think, man. If he can take his power, if Lomachenko could take that power, man, I will be super impressed with that. I just don't think he can, man. I think if guys like Linares could hurt him, man, I think if guys like Linares could drop him and hurt him, Campbell hurt him, I think this kid has got the tools to do it. He's got the great timing in them right there, man. I just see it happening, man. The question for Teofimo for me is, will he be able to keep up with the pace of a 12-round fight if Lomachenko is able to take his power? For me, there should be no excuse for that. He's 23 years old. He's a young kid. He's got, his body's nice and fresh. He's not beat up. He's got a lot of miles on him like a Lomachenko. So, he should be able to do it. I'm not saying not guaranteeing that, but he should be able to do it. But we still got to find out. I think he can. I think he can go a hard 12 with Lomachenko, but we still have to see that. Even though he went the distance with the Japanese guy that a lot of people like to bring up, that guy really wasn't pushing the pace like a Lomachenko would. So, it's going to be a little bit different 12 rounds with the Lomachenko Nagatani, but I'm telling you, man, these lightweights have been touching this guy, and I mean touching him. I mean, did you see the guy's face after the Petraza fight? Looked like he fell down a flight of stairs. The guy was all swollen, both eyes. He's getting hit, man. And I don't know, man. I think Teofimo can hit him with something, and I think it's going to end the night, man.
Backfire, though. G-Funk, the only thing I can say about something like that, though, is that maybe, and that's just hypothetical, maybe Lomachenko has been looking at these other guys that they want to challenge. What if Lopez really has sparked something in him where he sees them as a challenge? So he steps up his training camp. He steps up what he's going to do next. Where everybody else, he kind of looked at him like a peasant. I don't know. This is such a great fight. I mean, go ahead,
David, great fighters use that as motivation.
Dave, here's a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
If he's going to bring that mentality into this fight, and he decides he's going to spend more time in the pocket exchanging, then if he goes punch for punch, with this guy.
I don't think he will, though, Joe. I really don't. I don't think he's dumb enough or brave enough. Not brave enough. That's not.
He may be forced. He may be
foolish enough. Foolish enough to say, "Hey, I'm going to do this."
He may be forced into it, Dave, and I'll tell you why. His defense is his legs, and G-Funky knows this as well. Not a lot. When he's in that pocket, he's either going to step around you and outmaneuver you, or he's going to slide straight back. He doesn't have a lot of upper body movement. Doesn't really get low on the inside. So when he runs out of space, there's going to be points in this fight where he's going to get trapped in corners, trapped up against the ropes, and he's going to have nowhere to go. His upper body does not move a lot. That's going to be a problem.
And that's where Lopez has got to capitalize. Right. But that's where Lopez, that's why I was saying 4 to 5 rounds that Lopez has got to look for, be explosive, take advantage. Because listen, those mistakes that Lomachenko does, if you allow him to get away with that, and allow him to do that, he's going to adjust to it, and that's where Lopez and his team's got to be smart enough, overall, the whole fight, I mean, everybody, we can all go back and forth to our blue to the face and stuff, but at the end of the day,
it's fucking intriguing. It's
a very intriguing fight, and it's been a long time where we have a fight where we're like, fuck, man, it could go both ways. Really, it could really go both ways. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, but you know what?
What, eh?
Before I go, hey, G-Funky, you want to finish? G-Funky?
Yeah, man. But yeah, I honestly, I think he's got the speed, the power, and the timing to hit him with something, man. He's been getting hit. So I personally don't think he can avoid a big shot all night long. And until I see him take a big punch from Lopez, I'm going to say he can't take that kind of power. He's never been in there with a guy this quick and with this kind of power. So I'm going Teofimo Lopez, man, by knockout, anywhere in the 6, 7, 8 rounds, 9 rounds, something like that, man. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And shout out to everybody in the chat, by the way. I appreciate the support. Can't go over every comment right now, but we're definitely reading over them. I'm getting over under and how quickly the announcers will bring up the Ukrainian dancing, says DC. I don't know. I don't think they're going to have time, bro. I think he's going to be in pain. That's what I think. And let me tell you something. All right. Milcar said something earlier, and I'll give you a chance to respond to what I'm about to say right now. But you said he's seen it all. You've never seen a guy like Teofimo Lopez. Like, he's not seen this. Like, this is, if he has, this is a bigger, stronger version of it. If he's seen something like this. No one's hit as hard. I promise you, none of Lomachenko's opponents, including Walters, who's a featherweight, punch as hard as this dude, okay? And in the words of Dwyer, when you combine speed and power, okay, the way this kid throws, that is explosiveness. He's never been hit with something like this. Even in the shoulders, the arms, he's going to feel those shots. In the elbows, he's going to feel those shots. It's going to tire him out. Okay, this is a guy that throws a lot of punches. Well, guess what? If he has his shell up and this kid is hitting him with bombs, that's going to tire out his arms. All right? Also, and B pointed this out to me off the record, but I'll put it on the record now. Teofimo Lopez has knocked dudes out with his left and his right. One-punch knockouts. He's never seen a guy like this.
And to the body.
Tell me.
And body shots. And body shots.
Who has he seen that's anything like this kid when you combine it? Not just the attributes that he's bigger, that he's stronger than anybody's faced, that he's a lot younger, he's hungry, okay? But not just that. Also, the combination of he is a skilled fighter. He does have the speed. He also has a right hand, which is a great weapon against a southpaw. He's dominated and destroyed Diego Magdaleno, a southpaw himself. He was hooking him over the jab. I mean, this is a guy with all those things. Who has he fought that he's already seen? Like, who has he seen before across the ring from him that looks like Teofimo Lopez?
Well, he hasn't seen anyone specifically like Teofimo Lopez in terms of being a big 135-pounder who's admittedly struggled recently to maintain that weight, because he said even that he's going to be moving up, which is something that I didn't mention earlier in terms of the weight cut and what that might do in terms of him being able to go the full 12 at a high pace. But what I meant earlier when I said that is in terms of being on a big stage, challenging himself early on from the beginning of his pro career and seeing different styles. I can only assume that in the preparation for this, that they've been sparring, and I'm not even assuming that. I've heard through reports that they have been sparring big fighters to prepare for this fight. But you know, I've seen so many fights in the past where, you know, one fighter is trying to get under another fighter's skin. I could think about Mayorga Trinidad. I could think about Vargas Trinidad. Mayorga Trinidad. I could think about Mayorga De La Hoya. I could think about Vargas De La Hoya. And great fighters usually are able to deal with that and use it as motivation. I mean, Sugar Ray Leonard, one of my favorite all-time fighters, obviously couldn't do that the first time he fought Duran. So there's, you know, examples.
He did it.
Yeah, examples of that as well. Yeah, but I personally see him using that as motivation. And a lot of the things I'm hearing about Teofimo Lopez, about his speed, his accuracy, his punching power, are the same kind of things I heard. And I'm not saying that obviously one is an orthodox, other is a southpaw. I was hearing about Zab Judah before the Kostya Tszyu fight, when I was one of the few people back then who was saying that Kostya Tszyu would do exactly what he did to Zab Judah. Now, I don't think that he's going to KO him, but I do think that he's prepared and he's got the boxing IQ, and he's going to do what Joe said. It uses angles as his defense. And yeah, you're right. If he gets trapped into corners, he's going to be in big trouble. You know, I said that on our show, and I was like referencing Foreman in terms of him having to hit elbows, hit arms, rough him up, hit with one hand, hold with the other. But I have confidence that Loma's preparing for that and has plans to be able to deal with it.
But
that's a good point, by the way, real quick. That's a good point. I remember they were calling Zab Judah sweet pea with a punch. You know,
but he does stop in that mid-range area of the pocket to throw his flurries. He's gonna stop, and that's the thing. You can only move so much in a fight. And okay, everyone's saying he's got better footwork than Teofimo Lopez. What is footwork? Just because you move a lot, does that mean you have better footwork than someone? Footwork is balance.
Yep, balance. Yep.
Footwork is coordination. Footwork is body positioning. Footwork is getting off, being able to get that first step up. Footwork is beating that guy to the spot, cutting him off at the pass. You know, everyone thinks boxing ability. Oh, a guy who can fight on the outside, a guy who's flashy. No, Roberto Duran was an outstanding boxer, but he was a swarmer. Marvin Hagler was an outstanding boxer, but he was a swarmer. He just wasn't that pretty, aesthetically pleasing guy that everyone's like, ooh, ah. So Teofimo Lopez is more of a substance guy. He's not he's not all, you know, flash and volume. You know, you could argue that maybe Lomachenko moves too much. If you really want to think about it, you could argue that maybe he does throw punches that just pitter-pat punches. You could say, okay, they're throwaway punches, but are they always effective as people give, you know, as people think they are?
I'll tend to agree with you.
But his throwaway punches have meaning behind it, though. That's the only thing.
Some of them do, Dave. No, I would venture to say not all of them, though. But I think what I think is, just like Lopez, like some of the stuff you guys were saying about his power, and you know that he can, you know, with his left hook. But like, okay, if you want to use that analogy, the how I can counter that is like, okay, but he was doing it against lesser opponents. That's but again, you know
what I mean? But that's why the fight's happening. That's why the fight's happening, because we got to figure out.
Dave from 404, what were you going to say?
Yeah, you know, we're bringing up all these aspects of how the fight might go technically, but what's been on my mind, and I wanted to ask you guys, is how you feel from a historical standpoint, whether or not Teofimo Lopez is going to be at an advantage or disadvantage having his father in his corner if the going gets rough. We've seen him. We haven't seen Teofimo Lopez being truly challenged yet. And what importance will his father have in the corner? Now, we've seen some great combinations, Ruben Guerrero. We've seen Garcia, Angel Garcia. Is his father going to be an advantage or disadvantage when it's crunch time, when he may be falling behind on the scorecard?
With both fathers, though, you have two dads in there. No.
Can we ask the same question? Can we ask the same question of Lomachenko's father?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, let's go around with it, so we're not like talking over each other. So Dave, go ahead. What do you think?
Actually, let's go with G-Funk. I'll be the last guy because I've been talking too much, anyways.
Go ahead, G-Funk.
Me too.
So the question is what happens down the stretch? Is that what you asked?
Yeah. Now that you've corrected me, and I've completely forgot that Lomachenko's father is also in the corner. Right. Is if there's going to be an advantage between the corners, or who would have the advantage? We know that Teofimo Lopez's dad, much like Angel Garcia, is an extremely passionate, boisterous guy.
You know what? Let me go first, really quick, because. Check it out, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. No. Like, I need to say this.
Well, go ahead.
There's been people that have been kind of focusing too much on that interview that Teofimo Lopez made, that he was crying, that he wants his father. And I believe that's why a lot of people have that in their minds right now, right?
Yeah,
if he didn't do that interview or something, if his father wasn't out, because Lomachenko's dad isn't out there, doing interviews on YouTube and on podcasts and talking smack. You know what I mean? Not that I seen, right? His dad has been writing a lot of checks that he's expecting his son to cash, right? That's why there's this focus. But let me tell you something, man. I mean, you're no longer here with us, but if I wanted somebody in the foxhole with me, it would be my dad. Okay, so he's gonna go to battle with his dad, and it's good to have your dad, because your dad, if let's say worst comes, if he's taking a beating in there. He's more likely to throw in the towel, okay, and not be like Garcia that never throws in towels. You know what I mean? And he'll save his son's career if it's necessary. He'll stop it if it's necessary. He's not gonna be like Teddy Atlas trying to talk, his fighters out there when they're already beaten. So I don't really see it as a negative. He'll stop it if it's necessary. I don't think it's gonna get there, but I mean, his dad knows him like very well. Like, I'm pretty sure anyway. And he believes in him, and he needs that person that believes him in that corner, and and knows what to say. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody thinks that what a trainer has to do is be a cheerleader and yell in front of the camera like a Teddy Atlas or whatever. But that might work with some fighters. It may not work with others. Senior knows what works with his son, and that's why I think it's an advantage. Go ahead, G Funky.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think I'm one of those guys. I look at it like this, man. If things have been going well this so far, then I expect them to continue to be the same. Until we see something in there where it's like, okay, damn, he should have done this or he should have done that. I mean, as of right now, we haven't seen that. But that's another interesting thing in this fight. To see if it is a tough, close fight down the stretch, which father gives his son the best advice out there, and who makes the best decisions. That's another great part of this fight here is there's a lot of questions here, man, and that's one that I honestly did not even think about, man. That's a great question, but I think both fathers have done a great job to this point, so I don't have any reason to doubt either one of these guys.
Oh, there you go. What do you think, Amilcar?
Sorry, I'm in New York City and there's a lot of noise, so I muted myself. I think this is really going to be a test for Lopez's father as a trainer, and I don't really know much about him really in terms of how good he is and how much of this is really his son's talent, which is clearly tremendous talent. Whereas Anatoly Lomachenko's trained other great fighters like Alexander Usyk, just to name one. So I think he's more of a proven trainer overall. And I think, I see him. It's tough for me to answer that question. I don't know what's going to happen with him when the going gets tough with his son. Because a lot of what I hear is from him from the beginning has just been like bravado. And I don't really know how much of it is false bravado or how much of it is actually real talk. So this is going to be a learning experience for me in this regard.
What do you think, Joe?
Well, here's the thing. Neither guy has really been in a situation where their father had to consider pulling the plug on them. They've never been pushed to that point.
Right.
But in fairness, we have to give the edge to Lomachenko's trainer, because again, he's more accomplished. They have been in bigger fights, and Lomachenko has a great amateur career, and he's so they've been in bigger events, bigger fights, amateur and pro. But that question is a great question, and it's not going to be. It hasn't been answered yet, and it very may well could be answered on Saturday, because there could be a situation on either side where you could say that one guy may be taking too much punishment, and how will the father react? But I would have to. I think it's a no-brainer to give the advantage to Lomachenko's father, because again, he, like as Milkar said, he's way more accomplished, and Lomachenko has been in the bigger fights and does have more experience at the top level, and we can't dispute that. I'm basing my opinion, like I said several times, just on the eye test. I'm not looking at resume. I'm not looking at, who did this guy beat? Sometimes I can just look at a guy and to me, something about that guy, I say that guy special. He has some real standout qualities that I think he could display against anyone. And I think that Teofimo Lopez is that guy in my eyes. Hasn't proven it yet fully, but I think he will prove it. And I think he will fulfill his full potential, in my opinion.
Hey, shout out to Kano Sports, and I agree, Joe. I mean, I have full confidence in Lomachenko's dad to step in and stop the fight when necessary for his son. I have full confidence in that. Go ahead.
I agree with that. And the other thing too is, unfortunately for Teo, I think that almost his dad's kind of backed himself into a corner now with all the talking that if things go get rough, he's gonna keep him in there too long. Luckily, in this case, I think he's fighting a guy that doesn't necessarily hit very hard for a lightweight. So I don't really know if that's going to be as much of an issue. But yeah, when a trainer talks like this, it puts the fighter in a very dangerous position. I think.
I was just about to say, Milkar, I don't even think all of this bravado and this tough talk stemmed from Teofimo. I think his father kind of lit the flame and he also gassed him up, and he sort of like doing what Danny Garcia does, having to kind of back up what his dad says.
Yeah.
So, and like Freddie Roach used to be the trash talker for Pacquiao, you know.
But you know who didn't do that though, Joe? I'll let you finish. But Joe Calazagi's dad didn't act like that.
Never.
I love Denzo Kanzagi, one of my favorite
Never.
trainers.
And that seemed to work. You know what I mean?
Or Jack Mosley. You could name a few others too.
Yeah, my whole point is this: if Teofimo's dad didn't start this whole thing with that incident in the hotel lobby, maybe Teofimo wouldn't be as gassed up as he is, and maybe he wouldn't have to.
Or maybe we wouldn't have gotten this fight though, too, Joe. I think his dad had a lot to do. With why this fight happened.
Excellent point, Dave. Excellent point. But what I'm saying is, I think what we're seeing from Teofimo is a result of what his father started. In other words,
right. Okay. What about you, Dave? What do you think?
You know, I brought this up.
I'm playing 97 rough, by the way, because we got 2 Daves.
I know. Yeah. I brought this up a while back, Amilcar. I don't know if you remember this when we were talking about the 2 dads. You know, because we were talking about the fight, but then I brought up like this is just not about 2 fighters. This is about 2 fathers that train their sons to become great. You know, the thing about what I like about Lomachenko's dad is that, to me, his silence speaks volumes. Meaning that what he does is that he's molding his son, and he's been doing it for a long time, to be something that he had an image of, okay? And he's doing it silently in the background, like a true artist, right? Whereas Teofimo Lopez's dad is doing the exact same thing, but he's telling you, look what I'm doing. Nobody's recognizing what I'm doing. So when the tough gets going, to answer 408 Dave's question is this. I think that Teofimo Lopez's dad may not throw in the towel because he's got to back up his words. Everything that he's been throwing out there, everything that he's been saying, he's got to back it up. Whereas like Tito Trinidad's dad was the same way like Lomachenko's dad. He wasn't a big talker.
I agree.
He didn't say a lot of shit. But when his son was getting his ass beat up by Bernard Hopkins, he was the one that stepped in. He was the one that, he really showed compassion. I'm not saying that Lopez's dad's not going to show that, but I think that Lopez's dad may be hesitant, because the truth of the matter is, when you're a father and you're training your son, which I had 3 boys, training my kids, you have a perception or an image of what they're going to be. And you want them to meet that. You know what I mean? You want them to hit that pinnacle. You know, these guys got their kids there. So in their mind, especially with Teofimo Lopez's dad, in his mind, this is what his son's supposed to be. This is a tough thing for
or maybe David, it's what he thought he should have been when he was his son's age.
It absolutely it could be. It could be. Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
And I'm glad you referenced Don Trinidad, because I was gonna mention him as well. And one of my favorite trainers right now also is a father trainer. It's Shingo Inoue. When have you heard him talk shit? Right. He lets his son do all the talking. I've never been a fan of what Angel Garcia and what Teofimo's dad are all about. I'm just not a big fan of it.
I'm a fan. I'm going to tell you this. I'm a fan, dude, of them. And I'll tell you why. Because I might be that kind of a dad. That's why. You know what I mean?
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you that, Dave. You push your kids as hard as they push theirs. That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask you that, but you opened the door for that. So that's good.
But Dave's getting old, so now
I know.
Now that he's old, now that he's old, he'll be like, if you don't stop, my son's gonna beat you up. You know what I mean?
Right. What Dave is saying, and shout out to Robert the Ghost Guerrero's dad. I don't think that fight between Robert the Ghost Guerrero and Floyd Mayweather would have been exciting had it not been for his father's interjection into the whole lead up. And he had no professional wins as a fighter, so there was absolutely an element where he lived vicariously through Robert's professional career. He had 0 professional wins, but was, his son was a champion. Totally completely different professional careers. And Robert was never much of a talker like that. So it's a good thing he had his dad to help those big fights.
Sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. So like I said, I think who benefits the most is the one that's going to be more calm and more collective, that's going to be able to give them direct instructions and stuff. So this is not just a test for the fighters, the two guys that stepping in facing each other. This is a test between the teams. How well they're gonna do under pressure. Because remember this, even though Lopez's dad is this very energetic, outspoken guy, we haven't seen Lomachenko's dad react or respond when his son's really in a massive, like in real trouble. Because his son got dropped. Okay, son got dropped, he got hurt and stuff like that. But I don't know if I didn't feel that he was like in that major chance of like he was going to lose a fight. I thought like, oh shit, okay, he got hurt. He's hurt. But then he started taking over. So it's, the dad was able to get back into that comfort zone. I've said this in an email. Somebody asked me like, hey, if Lopez drops Lomachenko, do you think he does what Linares and Campbell and everybody else has done, which is back off and try to box? I said, no, I think the kid sees the moment. I really do.
Like a shark smelling blood.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, to me, it's going to be the test for Lomachenko's dad. How well does he react if his son can make it back to the corner for him to give him instructions? Okay. So it's
if
very
good. If you say Ruben Guerrero around here, he could pop up out of nowhere, by the way. I just wanted to let you guys know.
Ruben Guerrero has always reminded me of Danny Trejo meeting Master Splinter. It's like
there you go.
Combination of those two.
I just, before we move on here, anybody in this round table have anything else they want to say about this fight?
Well, let's just have a good fight. I wish you a nice Saturday evening of boxing, everyone. It's going to be fun.
Because it's like after an hour, did anybody change their mind after an hour of points and going at it? No.
I'm happy that some people agreed with me on my own show. My co-host disagreed. He thinks Lomachenko is going to have an easy night. But I really enjoyed you guys talking about how much the corners are going to play an important factor, because for Lopez to lose, I think it's going to be because he doesn't listen to the direction of his corner, of his father, or everybody in that corner. I still expect Lopez to make Lomachenko taste the canvas at least once.
At least one time, right? Absolutely, man. Hey, make sure you guys throw a jab at my like button. Hey, kind of old news, but I think the fight was so good that I have to bring it up again. Cepeda against Baranchik at 140 pounds. This is a hell of a division, by the way.
Yes.
Just putting that out there. These are two guys that both Ramirez has already beaten Cepeda in a very controversial fight, and Baranchik was beaten by Tater. Just to put it in perspective. But hey, Chief Funky, this fight, is it being underrated by fans in your opinion? I feel like any other year, people would be jumping on this fight, like talking about it nonstop. And it just seems like the weekend went by and I'm just, there was no buzz about it. It's like odd. But what do you think, Chief Funky?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is flying under the radar, and I really don't understand why. I mean, maybe because Cepeda and Baranchik are not, household names. I don't know. But I mean, I feel like there should be a lot more talk about this fight. I mean, that was such a rare thing that happened in that fight. I mean, this is just me saying, I don't think I'll ever see something like that in my life again in boxing, where guys are going down multiple times in every single round, and then the guy gets melted like butter on a hot tortilla in the last round like that. I mean, that's just an amazing thing, man. And I was sending that fight to everybody that I knew, man, that was a casual. I'm like, man, you guys got to watch these fights. And then I'm telling them, like, man, you guys, I know you guys like to sleep on boxing, but I'm telling you, you got to watch these fights, man. I don't know, man. For me, it's a little frustrating that it's not getting the kind of, the kind of pub that it's getting. But, I enjoyed the hell out of that thing, man. That was just a great fight and a rare thing to see, man. But I hope that the dude's okay. That was a pretty bad knockout at the end. But, yeah, people should be talking about this fight because it was phenomenal.
Yeah. Hey, Dave from 404 What are your thoughts on that?
Hey, Califas, G Funky, man, you nailed it completely accurately. Actually, with sending that fight to all my UFC, friends, because they always, they're casual fans, and they're like, "What was so good about that?" I was like, "You've got to watch this because this kind of stuff doesn't happen that often, where you have a total of 8 knockdowns." And the fight kept going and whatnot and ended in brutal fashion. That doesn't happen. That's like something Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward did, and it absolutely merits a rematch if they want to go ahead and do that. And I think as people who have their own shows and whatnot, that it's up to us to spread that out to all the casual fans, UFC fans. Hey, link it up on YouTube. Watch this because this is special. It's going to be really impossible to match what happened on that night. And so I'm excited to continue sharing that. And I'm really excited to see Jose Zepeda get a rematch against Ramirez when all is said and done at the 140-pound division. It's going to be exciting. It's definitely one of my favorite divisions to watch.
For sure. I want to give you a follow-up question really quick. The fact that it wasn't an app and not on TV, if this was on HBO, do you think it would have been?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
ESPN Plus,
yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Milcar? What are your thoughts?
No, that's exactly what I was thinking in terms of how big this fight could have been versus how big it actually was. We all obviously have ESPN Plus, but we're obviously an extreme subset of the boxing viewing population. I don't really know how many even general sports fans subscribe to ESPN Plus, let alone boxing fans. It's just not a really big platform, I don't think. And, had this been on an HBO or even, I would even say even back in the day when they had, Friday night fights and stuff on ESPN, I just feel that a lot more people would have seen it.
Damn. What about you, Dave?
Sorry, but following up to what Amilcar said, I think ESPN's completely grossly negligent for not re-airing that fight this week in a lead up to the Loma Lopez fight.
Great point.
You would do
just put it on before the fight. Why not?
Show it tomorrow night. Interrupt everything and have Loma give a quick interview and show that fight again, just so people can see what great fireworks the potential are in the sport of boxing.
And 97 rough. What are your thoughts?
Here's the crazy thing is that like a lot of folks right now are making this argument. Is it fight of the year? These two guys are not elites. These two guys are this and this and that. I think a lot of folks are forgetting that, a lot of fights that are fight of the year are actually not the top of the line fighters and stuff. You know what I mean? Like 408 Dave just mentioned Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti. There wasn't 9 knockdowns in that fight. It just was a brutal fight. Morales versus Barrera, first time. There wasn't 9 knockdowns in that fight. It just was a brutal fight. Paulie Ayala versus Johnny Tapia. There was no knockdowns. It just was a brutal fight. Right. You had 9 knockdowns, and everybody's questioning whether or not this is fight of the year. It was a great fight. How could you not put this in the top of your list as fight of the year? To me, this gives it everything that we wanted, everything that everybody asks for, everything that we hope for in a fight. Drama, people getting knocked down, and you never know who's going to – because I'm going to tell you now, I thought the Russian kid was going to finally just catch the Mexican kid and get it over with. And then when he got folded over the way he did, the way that G-Funk said, I was like, holy shit. So like you guys, like Dave was sending the fight to people that are MMA fans, I was actually having my 2 boys and acting like I haven't watched the fight. That was my trick of getting their asses to sit down and watch the fights with me, because my oldest son is a basketball fan. My other son's a gamer fan. Like he watches like kids playing games like it's a sport and stuff like that. I told him, hey, I haven't seen this fight, man. I want to watch it. It's supposed to be really good. Sat there and just watched the reaction of them watching this fight. So this Saturday, both my boys have told me, hey, man, I heard this fight's going to happen. Oh, do you want to watch it? They said, yeah, I want to sit down and I want to watch it. Bro, that's the kind of fight you invite somebody that's not a boxing fan. That's how you suck them in. ESPN, Top Rank, Dave from 408, bro, I totally agree with you. They should stop everything, and that's the fight they should promote immediately. After the college game, like Joe just said right now, Joe Jabit just said right now, there's going to be kids watching the college game. There's going to be dads with dad bods. They're watching the college game. Immediately, that's the fight they should throw on, because that's going to keep their ass sitting on the couch with popcorn and beer to want to continue to see what's going to happen next on ESPN.
Hey, this was me on Saturday night. Like, I was pumped up on it. Shit. Like, you know, I called my brother. He didn't answer. I'm like, you know what? Let me call Beep. Yo, did you see that shit? I just woke up. Like,
I'm lucky I DVR'd that shit because I ended up going back.
You know, I do have a problem with ESPN Plus though. Like, I was actually watching the fight like a little bit on a delay because I didn't see it live.
Yeah.
And then it got interrupted, and then I had to go back to the app and I had to search for the fight.
Oh, I
and
hate
then
searching
while
for it.
searching for the fight, I saw the fucking result of the fight. And I'm like, how do you not just immediately throw back on what the hell I was just watching? Why do I have to search? All I watch on ESPN Plus, well, sometimes I watch some of the 30-30s, but mostly I'm just watching boxing. They should know automatically Emil watches boxing. This is what he was just watch. Put that shit right back on.
It takes forever for them to archive. I hate that.
Serious.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, it does. It should be not only that, man. Like, you're replaying Sports Center all night. Just put on the fight.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing I like about the Zone is they do archive the fight quick.
Serious.
Now,
and also, they started right where you left off.
Yeah.
So, Pete, when you eventually did watch it, what were your thoughts? But what do you think, man?
Well,
Fight of the year front runner for you?
Definitely. But here's the thing: when you hear about a fight and you say, "Oh, there was 8 knockdowns scored in that fight," right? Your first reaction is, wow, this must have just been like a brawl. These guys must have just went at it. No defense, no nothing. But if you watch this fight, it was very tactical. These guys were landing like really setting up the shots. They were landing really perfect shots. They were threading the needle. They were throwing short, crisp shots up close, working off. Zepeda had a beautiful jab all night, and he was working beautifully off it. So this was not only just a great fight because of the 8 knockdowns. It had a lot of ebb and flow. You saw some actual good technical boxing as well. This had had everything wrapped into one. It wasn't just, you can't just, like, no disrespect to Wardy, to God Wardy. That was a great fight based off of action. Those guys didn't display great defense. Obviously, they're not superb technical boxers. They're not two guys you're going to, Mickey Ward does have some skill, they have skill, don't get me wrong, but they're just not, they're not.
Yeah, that was heart versus heart. You know what I mean?
That was a street fight. This was actually boxing. Right, so that's why I like this fight.
Yeah, man, that fight was something. Okay.
That was just,
by the way,
that was just pure violence.
That weight class, by the way.
Ward Gotti was just pure violence. This was actually boxing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I just feel like ESPN Plus is just hiding away. The same with the Zone. I kind of feel that way. Yeah. There's some gems there that people just don't get access to, and the world moves so fast nowadays. Yeah. If you didn't catch the fight that weekend, a lot of people probably will never catch it in their lives because life moves on. Everything's moving so fast nowadays. In the days,
people don't want to have to search for things. Like, if you can just throw it in their face. And that's the beautiful thing about television, because if ESPN just, like Dave said, everyone said, just throw this fight in everyone's face. Yeah. When they're not
the in between, like the 1 minute rounds or the 1 minute in between the rounds.
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes, bro. They could show this fight easily. At least
don't throw a podcast like they did on goddamn fucking Showtime pay-per-view. Throw that fight on and stuff tonight.
That is the best commercial for boxing ever.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, just throw that. You don't have to edit anything. Just put the fight back on. That's it. That's all you got to do. Like, this is what you're missing out. Boom. Okay.
And you know what? Just to piggyback about what you guys were saying, check this out.
Yeah.
So I do have brother-in-laws that are hardcore boxing fans, but here's the thing with ESPN, and I'm gonna get your I'm gonna get the fucking Top Rank apologies. They're gonna email me after I say this. But this is what happens when you throw on shitty fights in the bubble. It turns off even really hardcore fight fans where they go, I'm going to DVR it. And it didn't DVR because something happened. So they missed the fight. So like I had brother-in-laws and really good friends. And I go, hey man, did you watch that fight? No, dude, I didn't. But I watched the Fox fight that happened that day. Okay. So this is a great chance to recap, to bring those guys in that decided not to watch the bubble fight because you guys were throwing such crappy fights in the beginning. You know, I mean, I'll tell you the truth. That night, I was watching the fights in the beginning. My wife came in. She sits in the the Leaving the Ring podcast here, and she was sitting down. We're watching the fights, and then she goes, "So are any of these fights going to be good?" And I'll tell you the truth. I thought, really honestly, I was like, "It's going to be pretty good." But if you want to go do something else, we can do it. I'll DVR it and come back. That's what I did. I DVR'd it. I came back an hour later, and I was like, "Holy shit! Holy shit!
Right.
This is what I missed." You know, and this is the lesson that has to be learned.
Well, at least you didn't fall asleep while you were watching it. That's even worse.
No, I didn't do the Emil Cars thing, but
you have West Coast privilege, man.
I know. Is that Milk Car? Doesn't it suck when a fight starts at 11 o'clock at night?
I don't know what West Coast privilege is, man. Never heard of it.
Let me say this, man. I'm getting tired of the East Coast people complaining about shit being too late. They should be used to it by now. Okay.
D-Style calls me. D-Style's always calling me up. Hey, did you see that fight? So-and-so won. I said, no, I missed it. But thanks for telling me who won.
Spoiler alert. I should start saying, like, hey, it's your fight. Spoiler alert. You can just hang up on me then. Hey, Monster Inoue is going to be on ESPN Plus. I think that's a mistake. Milcar, is that a mistake?
Sorry, can you repeat that, D-Style? What's going to be on ESPN?
Monster Inoue is making his debut on ESPN Plus, not ESPN.
Big mistake. Big mistake. He should be primetime ESPN, right in an ideal time slot to get people to watch. Because, look, I've always been a big fan of the lower weight classes too. And when you have a guy who's such a big star and is such an exciting fighter in that weight class with explosive power like he has, it's a way to open up doors for more people to get into the bantamweight division and these lower weight class divisions. So yeah, I think it's a very big missed opportunity.
Okay. What do you think, Dave from 408? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to second that. Milcar, from what I'm reading, Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz is going to be another $75 or whatnot pay-per-view. It's a total missed opportunity on Top Rank and ESPN not to just put this fight out for free. You're going to have all these boxing fans debating whether or not to actually pay for the fight. You can get some heads to watch it for free if they time it right and play it early on regular ESPN. They can definitely get some viewership on that.
Chief, fuck you. What do you think?
Definitely a mistake. That's a guy you want to have out there on regular ESPN for people to watch. He's exciting, and again, we all know that the casuals are what drive the numbers up. So if they see a guy coming out there knocking dudes out spectacular the way that Monster Inoue does, then you got to put this guy out there to where it's easy for people to see. I mean, I do know quite a few guys that have the ESPN Plus app, but they get it for other things like college football. So it's not because of boxing. So yeah, this guy's got to be on regular ESPN, man. And like Dave from 408 just said, I didn't even think about it, but yeah, the Davis Santa Cruz fight is a pay-per-view. So yeah, they messed up, man. But I don't know, maybe they'll change their mind. We'll see, man.
I'll have my phone like this, and I'll be watching another fight on the TV. You know what I mean? 97 Rough. What do you think, man?
What they've been doing though is for the ESPN main event, they've been putting the undercards on ESPN for folks can kind of roll over and stuff. I don't know how successful that's been, because a lot of times after you roll over, you have to wait another 15, 20 minutes for the fight to even come on and stuff. And I don't know about you, but I'm not that patient. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to go do something else and stuff like that. So that's been a bad way of doing things. If they're going to do any type of rollover, it's got to be immediately. That's the same thing that goes back with Showtime, what they did with their pay-per-view. They took a long time. They lost a lot of folks, especially the East Coast folks, that fell asleep and stuff like that because of the time wait. You can't do that to everybody and stuff, Not everybody has that West Coast privilege.
Yeah. What do you think, Joe? Is it a mistake to put Monster Inoue on the Plus?
Yeah, well, again, because when you go on that app, it is an exercise in futility trying to find these fights. It is. It's like going through a friggin' maze. And again,
it is.
So when you make people search for stuff, they're gonna get frustrated. They're gonna give up, and I'm impatient too. I'm the guy that's in the grocery line with a guy that's writing a check in front of me, tapping my foot, going, "Oh, what's going on?" So like I'm that guy. So I like things that to be right to be put right in front of me, man. You know what I mean? I don't want to go looking for shit. So yeah, I think it's a horrible mistake.
I just think it's not so much, and I get your point, Joe, but for me, it's not so much like a personal, like I'm gonna have a hard time. For me, it's like for the sport of boxing. Like I want people
that
to
too.
Anyway.
That's an even that's even bigger.
If you're not a boxing fan, you're not gonna go out of your way to go look for a boxing fight.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But I gotta say this. ESPN doesn't give a shit about boxing. They really don't.
No, they don't. They don't.
It's filler programming. It's cheap filler programming.
It's cheap filler program. Look, they literally got a page. They literally got a page for MMA only. UFC. I'm sorry, UFC only. Like, but right when you log on in their app.
On ESPN Plus.
Yeah. Right. Everything comes up. Everything comes up. Baseball, football, basketball, UFC.
Oh, you got to scroll way to the right to get to the boxing.
You got to. You know what I mean? And you have to literally look for it. And it's a little small icon right there. It's a boxing glove. So that tells me everything. Like I'm telling you right now, and you can log me. You can hold me up to this. I'm telling you right now, ESPN is not going to be in the boxing business. And in about another year, it's going to be gone. It's going to be over.
It's quite possible.
That's it.
Maybe.
You mean in terms of big fights, Dave, or just in terms of all boxing?
I think of all boxing.
No,
of all boxing,
I don't think
yes. Yes, I think so. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there's not a whole lot of investment in it for them.
Well, the reason why Dave has a point is there's been times with ESPN will be in and then they'll dip out for years and then they'll come back. They haven't been consistent. And here's the thing.
All. Yep.
And I got to give Fox. I got to give Fox credit because I think Fox has been doing a phenomenal job promoting boxing because whenever there's a fight, they all of their sports shows, they have like the fighters show up at football games and stuff, and
they got them on Skip and Shannon.
Yeah, they got them on Undisputed. They got them on, and they even had their own show with the fighters, the PBC shows on Fox. So I think Fox has really stepped up, and they're doing a phenomenal job with boxing right now.
Really quick, you want to address that, Dave? He said they signed for 2025 with Top Rank. I'm not sure if that's true, but
I never heard that, so I don't know.
No, and I think they're dropping the ball too. If ESPN Plus is like for the hardcore fans like us, right? And they've got a deal supposedly with BT Sport out in England, why don't they always show those fights? Like I'm a guy that would actually watch that. Right. Like the fight this past weekend with Liam Williams was not on. I had to stream it to watch it, and there's other examples of that too. I feel like we should be getting all of that boxing on ESPN Plus.
Well, if ESPN was really invested, how come they're not trying to do any other type of investments with other promoters?
No, but you know what? Well, hold on, Dave. But they're putting this fight Saturday night instead of a college football game. Like that tells me something. You know what I mean? And they paid these fighters millions of dollars. They're paying these guys more than they pay the UFC fighters. You know what I mean? So there's some investment. I just think they want to see a return in their investment. If anything.
Well, I think they're paying them more than the UFC fighters, but that's because the UFC doesn't pay the fighters very well. I think
that's true.
Yeah.
But here's what I want to add to that. You guys are right, though. Fox is definitely doing it better. You know why? Like, at least Fox will, fake it. Like they know Lara versus Canelo's brother's not a good fight. You know what I mean? But they act like it is. You know what I mean? Like these guys, you would think you're getting ready to, they're hyping
Motion.
The Super Bowl.
Yep.
This is the brother of Canelo Alvarez. He's going to go in there against
They're doing phenomenal.
They don't talk down about the fight. They will pump it up. Like us boxing fans know it's ridiculous, but that could resonate a little bit with your casual viewer.
Bro, for a second, they had me thinking that German kid was going to put up a little bit of a Testa Porter.
Right. I was like, man, hey, how do I not know about this German kid? They were pumping that dude up. I'm like, damn, but that's what you're supposed to do. You're putting it on. Might as well, pump it up, man. I don't know, but ESPN has a gold mine with that Cepeda Baranchik, and they're just leaving it on the archives on ESPN Plus. Fox would have had that shit everywhere. They would have had the talk shows talking about it. First, they didn't talk about Baranchik versus Zepeda. You know why? Because Stephen A. Smith hasn't watched that fight.
Well, here's
They're
the
getting
beautiful.
more eyeballs, though. They're getting more eyeballs in the Laker game. Lakers winning than in that fight right now. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I want to answer really quick. Outlaw, he said, Dave, they signed until 2025 with Top Rank. If they broke that contract, it's pennies for them to pay off, Top Rank. It's pennies for ESPN.
Yeah,
maybe.
And here's the
But you
beautiful
know what?
thing.
That might be a good for boxing fans. I mean, maybe Top Rank goes with Fox Sports. Then they have to work with Al Heyman. You know what I mean?
And
But go ahead, Dave.
here's the beautiful thing that Fox does. You ever see they'll show the fight on Saturday, and then Sunday morning you can go back and watch it 9, 10 o'clock?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
The replay.
the Fox, and then they play it on
Multiple times
FS1.
during the week they show it.
Yeah.
Multiple times during the week.
And then they'll show it on the Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
They'll show it several times.
And then a couple months later, they'll just put the whole thing on their YouTube channel for you to watch it that way.
Yeah.
Now I want to get to the TMZ portion of the show. Man, so allegedly, I don't even think. I think it looks like it's off.
I think it is.
Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, likely not happening. It looks like Fury wants to move on, at least in the meantime. I think he wants to fight before the end of the year. Dave from 408. What are your thoughts on this? Let me word it this way: are you okay with that? Are you okay with them not fighting? And would you rather see Undisputed?
I'm actually completely okay with that. Deontay Wilder, immediately after that fight, took very little responsibility for the outcome of the last fight. And, he blamed it on his initially all kinds of the whole costume gate. And then you had firing of his corner and his trainers. If his life is being rearranged, with what's going on in his personal life and all that, and boxing isn't his focus, then, Deontay Wilder has to claim that he's a lineal champ. And he's the A side at the moment. So why should he sit around and wait for Deontay Wilder to get it together? I did hear that there was a contract signed. I'm not sure about that, but I think Tyson Fury has all the room to call the shots right now.
Now, Joe Habib, I know you're the big Tyson Fury fan, so I'll let you go next. What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. I had a lot of question marks about Deontay Wilder because of the injuries. He had a bicep tear in the left arm, then he had one in the right arm, broke his forearm, had issues with his hands. The guy's very injury prone, and that's why this fight was postponed, because he had to get bicep tendon surgery. So he's 35 years old, body's breaking down. Took a beating in the last fight. So I always questioned whether he would be ready for the third fight, and whether having it this year was a wise decision. You could say, well, what about Andrew Ruiz, Joshua? Joshua jumped right back into that, blah blah blah. But I don't think this was the same type of beating. Joshua had moments in that fight. That fight was on the table for a little while, anyways, right? I think that Deontay Wilder got beat from the opening bell to the time the plug was pulled. And again, he has injuries. Joshua really doesn't. So, and Joshua's not as old as Wilder either. So I don't think Wilder, and I'm this is just my opinion, I don't think he'll ever be back in prime championship condition again, in my opinion. He may even retire. So that's just my opinion. I don't really care that the fight's not happening either, because I think most people would rather see the Fury versus Joshua fight, because I don't think many people think Wilder has a shot against Fury. So
I think he has a shot, but you're not against it either, right? The third fight happening?
I wouldn't complain if it happened. I would watch it because I'm a degenerate. I watch two pigeons in the street fighting over a piece of bread. I mean, that's what I do. So
shout out to Batman tweet. He says, regardless of your opinion, Deontay deserves a rematch.
But does he want a rematch?
Well, again, if there was a time frame that the fight did have to take place, and then if it didn't take place within that time frame, and then the rematch clause was voided, then again, it is what it is. I mean, Fury would be following the contract, so to speak.
Well,
so
he what was that? Bam Bam in the chat. I mean, he didn't give Fury a rematch. There was a rematch clause. I believe, in the first after the first fight.
Right.
But look, let's face facts. Tyson Fury has Deontay Wilder's number. I didn't give. I can't find 10 seconds in that second fight that Deontay Wilder won, and he realized that you got to put him on the back foot, right? He realized that he's a bigger, stronger guy who's a natural southpaw who fights in the orthodox stance, and Deontay just did not have any answers for him. And I think going back into what you were saying, Dave, about the excuses, you also forgot Glovegate. I mean, there was a whole thing about the gloves being loaded and all of these other things. Mentally, I don't think he thinks he can win the fight. I think if he did, we would have been hearing him clamoring for the rematch. And I have not heard a single thing from Wilder asking for the rematch. Like you, Joe, I mean, Tyson Fury for me is by far the leading heavyweight right now, and for me, the leading prospect is also out of England, Daniel Dubois. And then Dave can tell you that I've been saying that since the kid was like 0-0 making his pro debut.
But here's the other question: if Deontay had bicep tendon surgery, then he had a rehab, how much time did he have to actually really train? Really, if he got the operation, then he had to do rehab and all this and that. How hard could he have trained? How much time did he have to train? So I severely am skeptical about if he was even physically ready for this fight, even if it was to happen in December. Would he have been ready for it?
I agree, but I also think that if he really wanted the fight, that he would have let the public know.
That's true too. Yeah, you're right. He didn't say anything.
That let's do interim fights, or you can take an interim fight, but I want that fight, in mid 2021 or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Can I jump in this?
Go ahead, 97. Go ahead. Go ahead. Take.
I was going to say this. Here's the thing: is that in all honesty, I don't even think Top Rank wanted this fight from the beginning. If you kind of look at what they've been saying and what they've been tweeting out, they've been looking at a way out of this fight because of the public interest. Let's be honest here. I don't know about you guys, and well, actually, what I'm hearing right now, even from you guys, nobody really wanted to see this trilogy fight.
Yeah,
Why? Because here, look, what's surrounding Deontay Wilder is this. Whatever's happened, surgery, etc., blah, blah, blah. He just fired his head trainer. So all of this stuff, when I hear all this stuff, I don't want to see a third fight because that only tells me that if he loses his third fight, guess what? That's what they're going to fall on. I want 100%. That's what I want from the Wilder camp. At the same time, I understand that Top Rank, it's a business for them. They know for a fact they can't sell this as another pay-per-view. It's impossible to sell this as another pay-per-view. They're not going to do good numbers. People are not going to buy into it. People are not going to go like, okay, this kid Wilder, who just thoroughly got his ass whooped by Fury, that he has a chance of beating Tyson Fury. The storyline of everything that's coming out with Wilder is definitely going to make people go, why would I pay $75, $80 again for a maybe he might show up type of fight? To me, it's a great decision that Top Rank downplayed it, and finally now they're saying, hey, this fight's not going to happen. They're seeing the reaction of the public, which right now, the reaction from the public is saying, like, that's good. I don't care. I'd rather see AJ versus Fury than Wilder at the moment. Give Wilder the chance. I said this a long time ago. When the fight happened, he lost, he got knocked out. I said this. I said, man, give the kid a chance to redeem himself. Throw him a bone out there. Let him regain the confidence. Let us gain that spark again that he's back. That this is the reason why we want to see a third fight. I don't always support an immediate rematch over and over and over. Right. Let's have some story in between.
Dave, we've talked about this on our show, right? And I'm going to take it back to Wilder. Wilder's weapon is his right hand. And Fury figured out probably during the first fight, definitely going into the second fight, that Deontay always drops that right hand to around nipple level before he's really ready to throw it. He takes a half step or a full step back. He's out of range, and then he attacks, right? And Deontay did not seem to have an alternative to doing anything other than what he typically does. You know, we saw what happened against Luis Ortiz. We saw what happened in the first fight, which I think most people felt that Fury won. So in my books, Fury's already 2-0. You know, I don't really need to see a third fight. And you know, the big fight is obviously AJ.
Just to answer Bam Bam's tweet right now, because Bam Bam put, you guys tend to forget the only needs to land is one for Deontay Wilder. He only needs to land one shot. I get you guys' argument skill. Okay, listen, that's the second fight though. See, in that second fight, that's why people tuned in. People were intrigued by it. They said, okay, that's all he needs, because what he did on the 12th round was what made Fury the Undertaker. But on a third fight, I mean, really, honestly, if you're a business and Top Rank in boxing, it's just not a sport. It's a business. If I'm Top Rank and nobody has no interest, I'm kind of rooting for, cheerleading for, nobody cares about it, so they're going to be okay if I give side money to Deontay Wilder to say, hey, step aside, let's not make this happen. Let's wait till late next year of 2021 or the beginning of 22 when you do something. I'm all for that. I'm not saying that Wilder doesn't have a chance, but at the moment, eyes, business, think about it. Nobody's going to really tune in.
I think me and Joe are saying that he doesn't have a chance, though.
I don't think he has.
At least I am.
Hold on. Whoa.
He doesn't have a chance.
I have a lot to say, though. I have a lot to
100%.
say, but
I put the
let's
100%
get
on that one.
Take really quick, and then I'm gonna go. But go ahead, G Funky. What do you think, man? Are you all right with the fight not happening? Do you want to see Undisputed? What do you want to see?
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm looking at this strictly from me being such a competitive person, from a competitive perspective. The first fight was a draw officially. Now I know most people think Fury won, and for good reason, but officially it's a draw. Yeah. The second fight, I mean, Fury beat him every round. I didn't give one round to Wilder in that fight. Beat him pretty soundly in that fight. So it is technically just, one even, one for Fury. So for me, if I'm Wilder, I'm like, yeah, I want to fight him again. But do it immediately? I would say no. Because, again, all the injuries and all these things that have happened, apparently they didn't get things done before the timeline. So, Fury's like, well, I'm going to move on, going for Undisputed then, and I'm a big fan of guys going for Undisputed. To me, when you go for Undisputed, you leave no doubt as to who is the man in the division. So if he's going to go after AJ, and if AJ gets past Pulev, which I'm pretty sure we all expect he should, but you never know in heavyweight boxing, but he should get past him. I have no issue with Fury going for Undisputed at all. And like 97 Ruff said, throw him a can. Let's see if he's able to come back from his injuries and excite people again and say, hey, look, I've cleaned some things up here. And then maybe people will say, well, hey, maybe he does got a shot. Maybe he made an adjustment here or there. But I personally think Fury did figure him out in that second fight. And
give him Ruiz. Give him Ruiz, man.
No, that's bad. That's bad. I think.
But here's another problem with the whole situation. Wilder has done nothing in this time frame to show that he really wants the third fight.
Exactly.
Well, here's what I want to kind of go to, right? Now, I don't know, because I'm hearing that Wilder's team is saying that, hey, there's a contract for this, right? If it's in writing, it doesn't matter what any of us think. He has to give him that third fight, right? If it's in writing, I don't know if it is or it isn't. But here's what I want to say. So I don't know, man. I find it funny when boxing fans, and I'm not going to single anybody out because this is most people right now, right? I keep hearing, oh, there's no interest for this fight. Nobody's going to want to see it. There's no demand, dude. We just went through 20 years of the heavyweight division when nobody wanted to see shit, okay? Mm-hmm. There was no interest in heavyweight boxing, okay? Deontay Wilder had a big reason to do why heavyweight boxing fucking matters right now, along with Fury and along with AJ as well, okay? The Klitschko era, nobody was watching that aside from hardcore fans, right? Like, that third Fury-Wilder fight, I promise you there's more demand for that fight than there was for any heavyweight fight for about 15 years, just a couple years ago. right?
Yes, there is, but there's also more demand for other
When
opponents,
AJ
and that's what
yeah,
that's
AJ
what the
and
problem
Fury.
is.
I hear
I
that.
think it's
If AJ was not waiting in the wings, your argument would be
yeah.
Yeah, but here's the
your argument
thing.
would be your argument would be irrefutable.
where I think you guys got it
You got
wrong.
AJ out there. You got AJ out
I
there.
hear you, baby.
That's
You
why.
spoke your piece. Let me speak my piece. All right. So let me just say this. All right. AJ got his ass beat by Andy Ruiz. All right. I didn't hear all this. We don't need to see the second fight for what? He beat the shit out of him. I don't know if he did or he didn't, but it looked like he fucking quit in that fight. Okay. He bent the fucking knee in the 7th round. He got dropped like 4 times. And I didn't hear any of this. Say, well, we don't need to see that fight.
Yeah, but the difference
No,
with that fight was is that there were ebbs and flows. There were ebbs and flows in that.
I understand that. Look, I understand
This
that.
fight was a comprehensive. One sec, Joe. Every minute of every round was dominated by Tyson Fury in the second fight. Deontay Wilder is a fastball hitter, and Tyson Fury was not throwing them fastballs, throwing them changeup, curveball. And
AJ won 3 rounds.
I gotta tell you guys right now.
He won 3 or 4 rounds in that fight, AJ. He won 3 or 4 rounds.
I gotta tell you, you're not wrong in the fact that he won them. That's because he was hurt by that first knockdown, and he was like off balance for about 5 rounds. The fact that he didn't get knocked out earlier is a miracle. Okay. Like he couldn't. It took him 5 rounds to get this guy out of there when he was off balance. He was. There was like, of course he won every round after he dropped him.
All I gotta tell you is I was in the West.
That body shot wasn't devastating when he went down.
Yeah. Hey, listen. All I gotta say though is that these times real quick. All I gotta say is that I was in the West Coast, so it came on late, so I fell asleep.
Right.
Guys, it seems like from what I'm hearing,
I am trying to say is, look, I'm okay with Fury fighting somebody else. By the way, Otto Wallen called him out. He said, "Hey, I'm ready to go." Right? I don't want to
see that fight.
Why not?
I just don't want to see that fight.
Nah. I mean, that fight was only interesting because he got cut.
But D-Star, what if
he still won?
Well, who cut him?
Wallin.
But D-Star,
I mean, would you rather see him fight Wallin and this? Like, Joshua's not going to fight him in December. Who's going to fight? Well, who else you guys got?
But here's the thing: what if the rematch clause did expire?
That's the thing.
Well, that's possible, but do you have the paper in front of you? I don't.
Bob Arum said the rematch clause expired.
Bob Arum's never lied.
Oh, he does lie.
I mean, I'm just saying. Like,
what if he's telling the truth?
Well, maybe yesterday he was lying and today's telling the truth, something like that.
All right. So what if today's yesterday and he's telling the truth?
Well, look, you brought
Gabe real quick. What were you going to say, bro?
Yeah, it seems like the consensus on our panel here today is that most of our questions have been answered after watching that fight twice. But clearly, we got Me Truck Mike in the chat saying that he'd still like to see a third fight. For me, I don't mind seeing the third fight.
I don't mind it,
but it seems like we want to see Deontay Wilder do something. Maybe go back on a knockout streak like he had for many years.
Well, my whole thing is this: do I expect Fury to wait around till next year for him? No, I don't.
So you're saying go for Undisputed?
Yeah.
Go for
in that. And also, Top Rank is stacking their stable with all kinds of heavyweight prospects. It's almost like they're grooming these younger guys to eventually, be opponents for Fury.
And Shelly Finkel, he's not fighting this. He's not saying, oh, well, he didn't come out and say, well, they're breaking the contract. It seems quite apparent that there was a time frame that the fight had to take place in, and it seems like it expired.
There was a time frame. It was this year.
Yeah. So if it doesn't get done by December, then I don't think they're contractually obligated. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
If you're Tyson Fury and you are not contractually obligated to fight Deontay Wilder the third time, and you could fight Joshua.
Do the same thing he always does, Joe.
If you could fight Joshua instead, what would you do?
Can I say this? Are you guys confident that Fury's never won a big fight back to back? He's never done it, ever.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's one of the reasons I wanted to see this fight. Okay. At the end of the day, he pulled out of the Klitschko fight. Didn't give him a rematch.
Never
right?
did. No.
So now he did give Wilder the rematch, obviously, right? Because they did fight twice.
They fought
But
twice.
he didn't fight him immediately after the first fight. He fought like two, like you
Two
know.
fights,
Here's
yeah.
my thing, like
With
like
Top Rank though, he signed on a new promotional group.
I'd rather him fight Wilder a third time than go fight Otto Wallin or Oscar.
So you're saying there's a pattern
yes,
that he may go fight some other guys before he fights Joshua.
he's not gonna go like fight like.
Well, again,
right now.
Arum
I don't
did
think the
say-
money's there
Can
though,
this guy
bro. That's
defend
why.
the belt one time?
That's
Can
a
he
big part
defend
of
the
the
title
business
one
case.
time, please?
I don't
Well,
think the money's there though. That's why. That's why it's not happening. The interest of the public, it's not there. I mean, let's be honest. It's not there. Not like the way it was for the rematch. The rematch has so much like
It'll-
emotion invested in it because of
It's
of what happened at there.
$500,000.
And they've already lost money on the Luis Ortiz pay-per-view too. It's like, how much more bad money are they going to throw after bad money
This
on
is
these
what
pay-per-views?
Here.
This is what Arum said. Whether you want to believe him or not. He not saying that he never lies. This is what he said, and it makes sense, and it seems plausible that this would happen. Makes sense. Says that Fury's going to fight again in December in the UK. Joshua's got to beat Pulev, and if both guys win, he's looking to do the fight in April or May. That's what he's.
I gotta tell you, man. Like Fox
And I don't-
would have to bill for this fight, bro. Like I just don't think. Honestly, like there's more aside from the Joshua fight. Like I will concede that Joshua Fury for Undisputed has more demand than this fight. You know what I mean? But this is the second or third biggest fight that could be made in the heavyweight division. Honestly, it's what I think. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. I'm alone. I'm the Lone Ranger here, but it's okay.
Well, I think your point is you don't trust Fury to go. Like he said he's going to fight Joshua, but you don't trust him.
It doesn't bother you that he's never fought 2 back-to-back fights. He's a really inconsistent guy, right?
I'm biased. No, I know you're right. I'm fucking.
I mean, on the international level, that's true. I think on the domestic level in England, he fought Chisora. He fought Chisora twice.
No, but he's never defended a title. He's never made it. He's never won a title and defended it. I can't refute that.
Well, you don't consider the lineal championship the true championship, Joe?
I don't think he's a lineal. How can he be the?
I was joking. I was joking.
No, that's the lineal championship right here. Look,
I'm sorry about that because some people are serious when they say that.
Pianetta is not a legit opponent.
Now you look kind of serious.
or Safford Safari.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe so, Philly, but he knocked him out twice.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. But
I see D Styles' point because he did.
I see D Styles' point too. I do too.
I think it's a legitimate.
It's a legitimate argument, like you would Bam Bam.
Right, I do, but the problem, Dave, the problem is I see D Styles' point, but D Style wants to fight more than Wilder does, and to me, that's the main thing. Wilder doesn't really seem to want to fight.
I don't know about that. I mean, that's like being in the process of his mind.
Dave, before this fight, all I would see on the internet is interview after interview from Deontay Wilder.
Right. He's right.
Since that fight, you search YouTube. Where's Deontay Wilder? I don't hear him asking for the fight.
This is pure speculation. There's something wrong right now, I think, with Deontay Wilder, whether it's physically or mentally, in my opinion. Just my opinion. I don't think he's right now. I just don't.
Like, here's where my pause is, okay? There is a pattern with Fury, okay? Not fighting top opposition back to back. There just is.
100%.
It is obvious.
And he won't be doing it.
Excuse me if I don't believe him 100% or Arum that, oh, no, totally, the extension, we're done. I'm hearing
again, I got to tell you this again. I don't think Top Rank wanted this third fight. I don't understand.
Well, that actually works to my point, right?
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
Bam Bam and some other guys in the chat room say, where are you guys getting your information from? The information is right there in front of us. I don't think from the beginning, think about it.
It's called circumstantial evidence. It's called circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
From the beginning, what the reaction that I've been getting, or the sense that I've been getting from Top Rank, is they really didn't want this third fight because they're looking at it as a business standpoint. There's not a whole lot of interest. Who gives a shit about what fighter wants what? It's a business at the end of the day.
And Dave, I think you're right.
Why is it so hard for fight fans to understand that? You know what I mean? Like, as much as you want to fight, if it makes no sense for the fighters to get paid out this large amount, and the guy that's hosting the fight is only making $1 off of it, why would you do that? Why would you make that fight happen?
Financially, they're on the hook, I think, and not Fox, because Fury won the fight. So I believe that the split in the third fight goes to Fury, and the rights to the broadcast it go to ESPN. So you might be right about that. But I also think that Fury's mentioned this many times, that long layoffs are not good for him mentally or physically, and that he wants to be active. So
that fight wouldn't even go to ESPN. I mean, here's the honest truth: the Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko fight, it's not even reaching the amount of payout what Fury and Wilder would want. They couldn't even reach that. There's no way of them giving that amount of money. It'd have to go back to pay-per-view. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. I meant an ESPN pay-per-view where they take on the financial burden.
Here's my prediction. Here's my prediction. Fury fights somebody in the UK in December. Joshua fights Pulev. If he wins, I think they fight next year. I just don't think there's a way it's not gonna happen.
I agree with you, Joe. And then that time frame, Wilder's got to do something. And he's got to do something, at least fight twice to kind of show back he's back in the mix.
And D-Style, show some faith. Have some belief, will you, please?
When Andy Ruiz?
Don't be so goddamn negative.
Well, at the end of the day, we'll see what happens with that. If Fury's going to fight in December, out of Wallen, I don't know. I mean,
I'm sending you a Fury. I'm sending you a Fury T-shirt.
I'll wash my car with it. I'll drive my car. You know.
Oh no!
I
can't do that.
Go.
That's
by the way, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm like 0-4 predicting big Fury fights. You know
Not me, baby.
It's all good.
No, me neither.
But with that said, guys, one more topic before we wrap this one up. I want to start with you, Joe. You even done a video about this.
Yes, sir.
Teddy Atlas.
Not a big fan of Teddy Atlas.
What's going on with Teddy? Do you think he's genuinely becoming this MMA enthusiast, or because MMA is not a new sport? You know, it's been around for a while. Like, he's known of it, but all of a sudden he's the biggest fan, right? Do you think he does a lot of things? Let me give you some examples. I think he goes over the top. Comparing Masvidal to Jersey Joe Walcott, okay? Comparing Frankie Edgar to, I think, Pernell Whitaker. Like, I just think these are like over the top. Like, getting these boxing legends and comparing them to these mid-card MMA fighters, it's just over the top to me. You know what I mean? It's one thing. I understand if you become a fan, you could be a fan of the sport. But what do you make of it, Joe?
I've never been a fan of Teddy Atlas. I think he's all about just making these false narratives. I think all he is an attention whore. He tries to take something that's really small and blow it way out of proportion. He's a sensationalist. He's an alarmist. I just never been a fan. Even as a trainer, he waits for the camera to go on him, and then he goes through his diatribes. You know, we're gonna walk through fire, like, and then you just, Teddy, how's it going today? Oh, I'm doing great. Like, he just like he screams for no reason. Like, he'll be in line at the grocery store. You're $35. All right, give me my change. Like, for no reason, he just screams. Like, he's an like, what's the guy have? Like, it's almost like he's got Tourette syndrome or something. He just screams for no reason.
I've met Teddy Atlas in Staten Island, and he was a nice guy in person. Yeah. But Joe, I gotta agree with you. And what really makes me agree with you are these pieces they do when it's him and Stephen A. And it's like, who can outclown the other guy?
Put a camera on him. Just put a camera on him, and then
and they're shouting at each other. And D-Style, I think the reason he makes those references to boxers is because he doesn't really know a lot about MMA. So his reference is boxing. So when he sees something, rather than describe it in MMA terms, he always analyzes it through boxing. So I think that's where that comes from.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Because when he does, when an MMA fighter, throws a straight left, like a straight kick down the middle, he calls it a jab. They're jabbing. They're jabbing.
Yeah, but is it necessary to take our legends, like our all-time greats, and
Wow.
compare them to these mid-card MMA? Is that necessary? Like, I would understand if it was like John Jones, maybe, but I mean, we're talking about these mid-level guys. Is it necessary to compare Conor McGregor after he beats Cowboy Cerrone, was 0-4 or some shit, coming off 2 straight knockouts, which boxing could not get away with an event like that?
Listen,
boxing fan, we wouldn't let somebody get away with that, right?
Would it?
He comes out and he compares him to Muhammad Ali. Like,
he seems a bit jaded by the sport of boxing. I don't know what happened with him in ESPN. He's got his YouTube show. He's the guy that's with him. I don't know him, but he comes across as a sycophant to me. I think his name is Ken. I'm not sure what his
Ken Rideout.
There you go.
And he spends the whole show riding Teddy Atlas's you know what. So it's an applicable name for him.
Well, so that's what you think of Milcar. He's just jaded and angry. That
he's not on these ESPN shows.
Can we agree that he's resentful for the sport of boxing for kind of
pushing him out,
phasing him out of the game?
Oh yeah,
because when he was on ESPN and he was talking, and they had all those low-level fights on ESPN when he was on that show for years, he never criticized those
Mismatch
fights.
City, Joe. Mismatch City.
He never
Friday
said those
night
fights are mismatches. He never. You know another thing I couldn't stand about Teddy Atlas. This is the one thing that I hate about him the most. Every time a guy is fighting another guy and he's losing or whatever, everything always has to come down to a guy's heart. Teddy, there's just some instances where one guy is just better than the other guy. The other guy, just because the other guy's getting the bag beat out of him and he's not offering up anything back, it's because there's a skill gap, Teddy. The other guy's not a pussy. You don't have to question everyone's manhood. You don't have to question everyone's manhood. Everyone's got to behave like a fighter. You yourself used to be a fighter, but you couldn't box anymore because you hurt your back. Are you a pussy now because you couldn't fight because you hurt your back? A guy will be getting the bad beat out of him, and then he can't fight back. Oh well, this guy's not behaving like a fighter. Teddy, how does someone behave like a fighter? They have to die in the ring?
Right.
I hate when he used to do that. Oh, everything was a psychological thing. It wasn't just because the other guy was more skilled and better than the other guy. That's why the other guy's losing.
So what about you, G-Funky? Are you a fireman? Are you a fireman, G-Funky?
Yes, I'm a fireman, and I'm fast like grease lightning. Like this guy tries to be Mickey from Rocky and shit. Like. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I didn't mind Teddy so much. When he was on Friday Night Fights and things like that, it did get annoying once ESPN picked up Top Rank. Like when they first back to ESPN, and then him and Stephen A. Smith would be sitting there arguing. It's like, dude, why are you fucking wasting your time arguing with Stephen A. Smith? This guy doesn't know shit about boxing. Like, it's a fucking waste of time to even talk to him about it. But now that he's gone, he seems very bitter. And it seems like, I don't know, man, like he's cutting promos like wrestling, and he's cutting promos on boxing and like these guys are comparing these guys to the greats of our sport. Like it's embarrassing, man, to listen to now. And honestly, I really feel sorry for him, man. I don't even listen to what he says anymore. Like I used to go check him out on his little channel that he had here. Well, he's got a big channel, but yeah, I don't even go over there to pay attention to what he has to say anymore because it's just ridiculous, man. And I know what he's saying he doesn't believe most of the time, man. So I don't know, man. I'm through with Teddy at this point, man.
It's all shock value. Everything he says is for shock value. It's for attention. And then he screams. He's sitting 6 inches from little Kenny Rideout over there, his buddy, and he's screaming at the fucking top of his lungs. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're a 60-something-year-old man, and you're acting like you're freaking 12.
I like it when, like, in his podcast, he has these moments where he just lashes out, like, it's like,
he'll be like this.
It was a really good fight, and then he threw the jab, and then after he threw the jab,
Teddy,
like,
Teddy,
bro, like, what the hell,
Teddy, what did you have for breakfast this morning, Teddy? Well, I had some cereal, some bacon, and some eggs. Like it's just like What the fuck is like? It's like
Joe, he has Tourette's, man. I mean, come on, let it go, let it go.
What the fuck is wrong with the guy?
Now I want to know if Dave from 408 is a fireman. Are you a fireman? Do you like making
Well,
sandwiches?
Dave's worked with the whack pack, so Dave should know what's up with that, man. You know, you work with the Howard Stern whack pack, so you should be used to this, bro, right?
You know what? I gotta say, I actually was a fan of Teddy back on Friday Night Fights because often, like some of you pointed out, those mismatches. I mean, it was his animated behavior that made it for me. His back and forth with Joe Tessitore, but today, it seems like his problem is he feels irrelevant now, and he's gotten even more louder with some of the crazy things he's saying. But I'm seeing people in the chat miss some of his behavior. That I will say that the way he used to stand up when there was judges scoring poorly on ESPN, I do appreciate that. I wish more people would speak louder when there's poor judging in the sport of boxing.
But
That's a
here's
good
another.
point.
Here's another.
But you know what? You know what though? He wasn't the best at scoring fights either, though. That's a hilarious. Like this guy gave Horn 5 rounds and had the biggest gall to look at Horn in the face and be like, "You didn't win this fight, son."
You know what the crazy thing about it is? He'll score a fight and he'll have like 3 rounds even, and then he'll say that the guy he had winning, if they had the other guy winning, right? Then he'd be like, "Oh, that was a robbery." Teddy, you scored 3 rounds even. How could what the fuck? How can it be a robbery? You scored 3 in the Horn fight. I think he scored 2 rounds even. So what if you swing those to the other guy, Teddy? Like he's the worst scorer.
You know what? I think I'm gonna be the oddball in this conversation here because you guys are a bunch of haters with Teddy Atlas, man. You know, if Teddy Atlas comes back to boxing, I think his ring walk should be, "There's a whore in the house. There's a whore in the house." Man. like Amilcar, I've met Teddy a few times, not just on him coming on the podcast, but I met him in person. And here's a guy that his focus is to get his brand out. I get that. You know, and just like what G-Funk was saying right now, like he wasn't really annoyed by him. I wasn't really annoyed. Actually, I was more entertained, just like what Dave 408 was saying. Like really entertained by him because of the outlandish shit that he would say. Because, and a lot of times that he was talking, it was almost, I almost felt like he was trying to rhyme. Like he was always trying to come up with some metaphor. You know what I mean? And I was like, "You could do it, Teddy. You could do it, bro." You know, lemons, limes with, and I'm like trying to help him out when he's talking about the fights, and just never got there with Teddy Atlas and stuff, you know. But I get why people are kind of turned off by him when he's now not in the scene as a commentator in boxing. He's out the scene. He's doing his podcast thing. He's trying to stay relevant, and he's talking MMA. Which I find very weird because you know for a fact that if he was in boxing getting paid by a network, he would not talk about MMA whatsoever. So I do find that funny. But again, I mean, have you guys met anybody in the boxing industry? Have you guys ever met media guys in the boxing industry? These guys are the first ones that would drop a bar of soap and bend over and even lube it for you before you even get in them.
Damn. Well, anyway, well, I never been to jail, so I don't know anything about that. Okay.
No, it's not jail. It's called the media room.
Oh, gotcha. Well, with that said,
that could happen at gym class too.
I'm just gonna.
Or the Boy Scouts. I'm a phys ed teacher.
Right. Hey guys, this has been a great show. I hope to do it again.
Absolutely.
And let me just go around real quick. Dave from 408, welcome.
Thanks
again.
guys.
And I want to thank you for giving us your time. Give us some final thoughts, man.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to be curious if we get back together here, what your thoughts are on Timothy Bradley becoming the next Teddy Atlas. And this Saturday, we'll get a chance to see it because I'm sure he'll be doing the lead commentary on Saturday's night on ESPN.
Yeah, right.
Timothy's been taking a lot of heat on social media as of late for some of the things he's been saying.
or even some of the things that he can't say, like Ramirez.
Ramirez, like, holy shit! Like, what are you talking about? Damn, bro.
I call that
What is
Ruslan.
Funky? Final word, Chief Funky. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, this is great stuff. I'm super excited for the fight Saturday, man. This to me is the fight I've been looking for since we came back from the pandemic, and it's the most important fight to me. You know, I've been doing a lot of talking for months now about this fight. You know, I'm going out on a limb, taking the underdog, but you know what? I've done it plenty of times, and the underdogs have come through plenty of times for me. I've picked 2 big upsets this year, man, so I'm hot right now. So you Loma fans better be. I picked McCaskill over Baracus, and I've dropped a lot of money on Franco, man. So you guys better be.
Baracus is coming back, bro. Let me tell you something. She's gonna get her belt back. Okay, but that's not here nor there. Joe Habib, ringside reporter. Give us final thoughts really quick.
Just want to give Teddy Atlas a shout out.
Ringside reporter.
But hey, we can use Atlas here in California. We got a lot of fires, man.
I'm feeling real good about my pick because G Funky's on fire, and if I know he's riding with me, man, that's a good sign. But I'm looking forward to the fight. I think Lomachenko's getting iced.
All right, and Emil Carr, first time on the show here. I want to thank you for coming on. Give us some final thoughts, man.
Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun. My pick hasn't changed, and I look forward to commemorating the victory that Loma will have on Saturday with you guys soon.
Damn, he's gonna have our heads on a spike, apparently.
Having said that, as excited as I am for this fight, believe it or not, I'm actually really looking forward to Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois. That's the fight I'm actually looking forward to the most. And David has known that because I've been talking about it for a while.
Well, there you go. AOL against Dubois, yeah. But go ahead.
If he starts punching now, I might get there in time, you know?
Right. Go ahead, Dave. Give us some final words and close us out.
No, a lot of fun, man. I'm glad that you had said, hey, let's do a Leave It in the Ring roundtable. I thought it was great. I thought everybody on the panel was phenomenal. I'm finally glad that we were able to get Dave from 408 on the show here because I listened to his show. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out his show, it's a really good, well thought out show that he does on the Periscope thing. I plan to do more shows with him, so keep a lookout for Dave from 408 and stuff. As always, Joe Habib, man, dude, I gotta tell you this, Joe almost like he had me right there on that line to change my pick. I was like, fuck, dude, he's given a great case. But same thing, G-Funk from the beginning has been given a really good case of why he's picking like Lopez and stuff like that, you know. But I wouldn't be a man of my word if I wouldn't stick with Lomachenko by decision. Really tough fight for Lomachenko. But you know what? It doesn't matter, man. At the end of the night, I always said this. Whoever wins, and if it's a phenomenal fight, like if we get a spectacular fight, a memorable fight, it's a big win for us fight fans here and stuff. And I'm with Joe Habib. A big shout out to Teddy Atlas, man. you know
what defines a 50-50 fight? It's not what one person personally believes is 50-50, right?
Right.
It's when you look at the public at large and there is a divide. And you have hardcore boxing fans specifically divided in the fight. Some think it's going to be close for Loma. Some people think it's going to be close for Theo. Some people think it's going to be a one-sided fight for Loma or an early stoppage for Theo. Whatever it is, that's what defines a 50-50 fight. This is what boxing is all about. And at the end of the day, boxing fans win. Let me
close this out really quick. Let me just throw out my last thought here and see what everybody thinks about it that's on the panel right now and even in the chat room.
I had a good closing right there. But go ahead.
I know, my bad. I'm sorry. But I was thinking this because I thought that this whole panel thing was really great. It was a great idea. It's something that hasn't been brought back, D-Style, doing a whole roundtable. If everybody's down, I was thinking like we should do this an hour before the Lomachenko fight and Lopez fight or during the fight, so we all get the same reaction and we all can talk about in between the rounds and then what's happening during that fight with the folks on the chat room. Rather than listening to Timothy Bradley trying to imitate Teddy Atlas, Why don't we just do our own thing?
Well, I'm not sure if Joe Habib or G Funk, I know they can host. Because I'm gonna be honest, man. This fight, like, I mean, I'm gonna be going to my cousin's house because I just want to be a fan. I just want to sit down.
Oh, I feel you.
You know what I mean?
Whatever, fucker. I was just saying, all right, cabron. Whatever, man.
No, but I don't know. Like, I'm sure Chief Funky or Joe Habib will have a live. You know what I mean?
Eric, my partner wanted to go live too, so I already committed to him. But it's a great idea, David. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, fuck you guys. Okay, whatever.
Well, there's no Chief Funky though.
I just wanted to say, I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
To me, with the crazy thing about this fight is all like the fighters, the promoters, the internet people, the writers and stuff like that. Everyone's picking Lomachenko, but on YouTube, it's like 50-50. All the YouTube video uploaders and the YouTube guys, it's 50-50. But everywhere else, it's overwhelmingly.
You know what, though? And I honestly feel this, and I kind of understand, but I've always found that all the boxing writers, the boxing scribes, like, honestly, very rarely do they pick that
upset
turnover, that upset. You know what I mean?
Right.
All the scribes had Sonny Liston beating Muhammad Ali.
This
you know
is
what I mean?
true.
Everybody had Paul Williams, because they go with that conventional.
It's almost like
Everybody had Wilder beating Fury in media for the rematch.
You know what it is? It's just like, I think a lot of scribes wait for the information to process first, and they're just used to writing about what happens.
It's almost like a
I
corporate
find writers aren't the best at predicting fights.
Yeah. Or it's access. Who has access to who?
Right.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. You know what I mean? Like Gennady Golovkin is very, approachable. A lot of folks, a lot of boxing media guys have more contact with Tom. They had a better relationship with Tom Loeffler than with Canelo's team. So immediately the favoritism was with Tom Loeffler and Gennady Golovkin. It wasn't necessarily Gennady Golovkin. It was Tom Loeffler who they had their loyalty with. I mean, come on, let's think about this. The Ring Magazine's editor jogs with a manager. You think he's gonna pick against that guy's fighter? No.
Hey, by the way, guys, make sure you subscribe to Live It in the Ring here on YouTube, right? And all that good stuff. Hey, Chief Funk, you're gonna do the fight on Saturday?
I've already invited a couple of family members over.
Whatever, fucker.
So yeah, sorry, man. No, you know what? It's one of those fights where I've already had a few people. I've had more than the people that I'm having over call me about, and I said, you know what? We're in a pandemic. I live with someone that's high risk, so I'm really, really picky about who's coming over. But I am having my father over, who we watch fights with all the time, and one other person. So. Normally I would, man, no problem, But for this one, we're just gonna kick back and enjoy it. But I might jump on post fight, man.
Right.
We should do something next week, all of us, to recap it, maybe.
Right. So before I close it out, anybody has any final thoughts? Let me clear the air. No.
Loma going to bed.
Once again, shout out to Teddy Atlas.
Can we get one more? Can I have Teddy Atlas say? Keep it boxing. Like, this is D-style boxing.
This is D-style boxing. Keep it boxing.
There we go.